Righto, for Woodlands Stud, I'm great to be catching up with Stacey White again. Firstly, Stace, hello.
Hello, Paul. Great to be here. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, no, thank you for coming on, and it's a great time of year. Yesterday you were on the North Island filming the boys finally arriving back on the farm. It's an exciting part of the season, isn't it, when they get back here?
Yeah, it's probably one of my favourite parts of the season to go up and see them all arrive safely and what condition they're in. And they're always happy to get onto the farm. So, it's always great to see them get off that truck and into their paddocks, and really sort of means that the breeding season's pretty much here. So it's all a bit of a wake-up call for everybody, I think.
Oh, it is, and I'm sure Tony Grayland would be well and truly up and about because he loves his boys and loves to get them back. They've all arrived safely.
Yeah, all arrived safely and looking really, really good. So between obviously the stud farms in North America and IRT looking after them, they've done a fantastic job. They're all looking great and hopefully in for a big season.
We'll go through each of the stallions. We will start off with American Ideal for a start. AI. He is still on the roster, but technically his book is full. It was only frozen semen, of course, unfortunately passing away at the end of the last breeding season. And effectively all of his frozen semen that was going to be used this year is effectively gone.
Yeah, there's still a little bit to be allocated in New Zealand. Cameron's still got a little bit there, I think. So if there's anybody that is thinking about sending their mare to him in New Zealand, there is still some available. So give Cameron a call for that. But yes, Australia is all allocated at this stage.
Yep. Sorry, I must remember that because I was talking to our Australian representative, Mark Hughes, and he did tell me that. Rightio, everyone would have been wrapped. I mean, it was touch and go a couple of times, I think. Well, I don't know how close to touch and go, but Better's Delight, he's back. There was some great footage yesterday from the guys from IRT, the photos they put out. The last time he's going to be there, the most frequent flyed stallion in the world, he's actually had his last flight ever, and he's going to domicile for the rest of his life back in at Woodlands Stud.
Yeah, we're feeling very grateful to have the opportunity to retire Better's Delight down under. Obviously, hopefully he's still got a few seasons left in him, but he'll be the one to tell us that. But yeah, to see him get off the truck and be in good health and at this stage all set for another season with us at Woodlands is great. But yeah, to know that he's going to live in the nice, mild Auckland climates for the rest of his days is a real honour for Woodlands, I think. He owes us absolutely nothing, and it's a real privilege to be able to give a little bit back to him by offering him a home for life.
How do you go? Like, I know you're very creative with your photos and your videos, and I'm sure there'll be stuff going up. There might already be up, and I haven't looked at it, and I apologise. When he comes back, do you just sort of say, "Oh, I just do whatever you want because you're the king," or does he set you some challenges to try and showcase a different side to him?
Everything's generally on Better's Delight's terms. I think everyone just rolls with the punches with him. Tony's always armed with pockets full of carrots to keep him entertained and to stop him biting him. But yeah, we all just roll with Better's and what he wants to do. But usually when he gets off that truck, he knows he's home and what his job is. So he settles in pretty quickly, runs straight down. He's always got a couple of the mares just down in the paddock alongside him. So he usually runs down, checks on them, and then just settles in, has a good pick of grass and a roll, and really does seem to just settle straight in. He knows where he is and what's ahead. So, I mean, it might be a bit of a shock to him not getting back on the truck come the end of the season, but hopefully he'll be happy where he is.
Do you reckon he knows?
Knows that he's staying, or that?
Yeah.
It probably won't, but maybe once the others leave, he might realise. He'll definitely enjoy that. He already thinks he's king of the castle, and he is king of the castle. So when he's there living out his days, he'll definitely be the boss.
Now, his semen is available, and I don't actually have I'm about to get it. I was a bit slack, actually. I should have had his up at the minute. But in New Zealand, he's 25,000 plus the GST, and in Australia, he's 27,500, including GST. And he is chilled. Like, I mean, a lot of people are sort of not sure. He is going to be chilled semen. It's not frozen semen. He is available as chilled semen this year.
Yes, yeah. He actually, Andrew Grierson collected all of them yesterday just to start getting them going for the season ahead, because obviously they've had a bit of a break. So he was one and had his go yesterday. So yes, definitely fresh semen for all of the stallions except for American Ideal. Obviously he'll be the frozen one.
And I know Andrew always says about how fertile Bettor's Delight is. He doesn't know his age. No, he's just a unique. My brother Grant flew the horses back with IRT, and he was explaining to a couple of the grooms about how good he is, and they were just blown away when they hear his stats. He's a credit to our industry, and I keep saying it. I don't think we celebrate a horse like him enough, because what he's done for Australian racing and New Zealand racing, Australasian racing, basically worldwide, is outstanding. But yeah, he's an amazing horse.
He definitely is, and like I say, we're very privileged to be able to have him on our roster, and yeah, everything he's done for Woodlands, for the industry, for our breed worldwide. I mean, he's just simply the best sire of our generation and possibly ever, and is possibly even got better stats than most of our thoroughbred counterparts. So yeah, we're very privileged to have seen a horse like him in our lifetime, and to have a horse like him make such an impact on our industry and our breed is incredible. So hopefully we've still got a bit more to see of him yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sweet Lou, they actually shared a box coming over. I actually said to Caro when I was in Great Britain, I said Lou's on the plane, because Grant told me. I said he's sharing a box with Bettor's Delight. A pretty expensive little box, that one for Woodlands. He's back. He continues to do an amazing job. His book is full in Australia, not in New Zealand, but his book is full. Speaking to Mark prior to doing this interview, and he said, please make sure people are aware that he is full. Get in for next year. You can still get in for next year now. You can't get in for this year. People keep ringing him day in, day out, and probably a frustration for people, but it's a unique situation, but definitely still available in New Zealand.
Yeah, he is. It's one of those tough ones. You sort of feel bad turning people away, but when he's doing the job that he's doing, we've got no choice in the matter, obviously, with the stallion limits and things. But he's doing the job and getting the mares, and we couldn't ask any more of him. He's a real you call him up and coming. I suppose he's been around for a while now, but really just starting to make his mark on that next level, sort of into that great sire level. So yeah, we're excited to see what he can do. Obviously, Never Ending, his son's going for the Eureka next weekend, and he went phenomenal at Menangle on Saturday night. So excited to see how he goes against all those horses in that $2 million race.
Yep, and then of course he also shared a plane with two of his sons that are now coming out here. I think there's 4 sons now going to be in Australia. So he's really starting to leave a massive legacy now when his sons are coming back, and and they're probably riding a little bit on his coattails, if you like, because 2 of them are their first seasons. But being sons of Sweet Lou, well-performed horses, they're garnering a heap of attention.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to Sweet Lou and the progeny he is leaving, that he already has so many sons coming down under to stand at studs. So it does show the popularity of Sweet Lou, which is therefore going on to his sons, especially obviously in Australia where he's hard to get into. So it sort of creates that opportunity for breeders to still get his bloodlines through one of his sons.
Yeah, I didn't tell you which order we're going to go in. We'll go now. We'll go to Down by the Seaside. Rocky, as he's more affectionately known. How did he arrive? Because he, unfortunately, was it 2 years ago? He didn't have the greatest of trips, but he's arrived safely, and everything's all systems go with him at the minute.
Yes, no, he's always rearing to get off the truck. Usually you can hear him pouring as they're coming up the driveway, and all the way until you open the door and get him off the truck, and that was the case yesterday as well. He settled in good, health is great, no signs of any issues, obviously touch wood with all of them, but seems really good. He was a little bit upset because he's got a new paddock mate beside him in leather ups down the end with him there, so he was a little bit put out by having him next door to him, but I'm sure they'll settle in, and I mean, they have ways, obviously, of making sure that the boys don't get too upset at each other, because obviously you want to keep them as happy as you can, but they all want to be the king of the castle, and Down by the Seaside would love to be that horse. So he might take a day or two just to get used to having Lather up beside him, but I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah, Sudsy can do that. We'll touch base with him in a minute. He knows how to push everyone's buttons for some reason, Sudsy does, but that's okay. $10,000 in New Zealand plus the GST, $9,900 including GST in Australia. Been some pretty important form updates. I mean, his progeny are going outstanding. 2-year-olds everywhere are now starting to win. He came off a small crop of yearlings the first year. He had colic the second time he came out. Like, people sort of say he's had, they should be around. His oldest horse is a 4-year-old now in Australasia, and he's just doing a magic job down here. But in the US, slipping on a Sea Rock, the fastest 2-year-old ever, only about 4 weeks ago. He's a serious stallion. People really need to stop and have a look at him and the job that he is doing.
Oh, for sure. I think we keep sort of blowing the horn that he is probably the most exciting up and coming sire that we've got down under at the moment, and his results are really starting to come thick and fast. Like you said, he's got a world record holder now, the fastest 2-year-old in history in harness racing across the world. And you look at his horses that he's got. So from his first crop, Artie by the Seaside, she's unbeaten over at Gloucester Park. Got some big targets coming up for her, so it's going to be great to see how she goes in those. But in talking about, those nice fillies and mares, he is leaving really quality fillies and mares, and he's winning a lot of feature races. So at this stage, he's ticking all the boxes, and we think he is very exciting, and looking forward to seeing, his big crops are still coming. He got some full books, the 2-year-olds that are hitting the track next season. That's his first really big crop. So they're only going to keep improving, and you're going to be seeing his name in a lot of places, I'm sure.
You've got Artie by the Seaside. You've got the younger sister that's going just as good. But there's horses like Mantra Blue, a horse you and I have seen a lot of in New Zealand and know how exciting a horse she is. But there's a horse the Aussies are going to get to see. Oh, Mantra Blue is, sorry. That's okay. Mantra Blue is a good horse. Lucky I got the right stand. But
she's a good horse.
Coastal Babe is the one that I want to make sure people are aware of, because it's actually here now in Australia. It's left Steve Reed's and it's here. Not exactly sure where it is, and it hasn't started racing yet. But it is a mare that is going to turn a lot of heads here in Australia, because it's a high quality mare, great gate speed, high speed, can sit on a really good speed. So we're watching Artie by the Seaside, a horse that a lot of Australians didn't know about. See the job she's doing. There's another horse not far off really showcasing it, and I'm sure that'll make a lot more people sit up and see, the job that Seaside is doing, Down by the Seaside is doing.
Absolutely, yeah. And even back here, he Gone Surfing, one of his fillies, won a Group 3 race here at Ashburton. She's just been at the trials too, so she's obviously getting ready for those springtime races. So, I think come springtime, his progeny are going to be back on the track and in those big races. That's one thing he's got. He's always got starters in those big races, and it's not going to be long, and he'll be right up in those sires leaderboards just from the progeny that he's got and the job that they're doing.
And a unique opportunity, as I said, roughly $10,000 on both sides of the ditch to get in England. You get a bit of change in Australia. You don't get any change in New Zealand, but it doesn't matter. But he's just doing an outstanding job, and he's a super stallion, and leaves, one thing I love, leaves high quality mares, but they're cracking types. When people see Coastal Babe, they're going to go, wow, because she's just a brute of a horse. She looks like a colt. She's just such a strong filly. So, And Mantra Blue is a beautiful horse, and she will be racing in some of the better races later on. Rightio. We mentioned him just there before. Now to find out that Sudsy is the paddock mate of Down by the Seaside. He's a cool dude, isn't he? You've seen him before, but a few of the farm members wouldn't have seen him before. They would have been thinking, oh, no, what have we got ourselves on with now? He's a great lad to have around the farm, isn't he?
Oh, honestly, he's actually a gentleman. He came off the truck, and obviously he'd never been there before, and he was taking it all in, and a little bit excited to be there, but very well mannered, and walked down nicely to his paddock. And let him go, and he just had a sniff around and a little trot around. He didn't really make too much of a fuss. Very light on his feet, I did notice, as he trotted across his paddock. And so he had arrived before down by the seaside, so he had a little while to settle in. They do have a lane between them, so they're not right next door to each other. But when down by the seaside arrived, he was sort of Lather Up was sort of popping his head over the fence just to let him know that he was there, and possibly teasing him a little bit. I'm not sure, but he also had his first collect yesterday, because obviously Tony Grayling hadn't had a go at collecting him, so they were all just keen to see how he'd go. And he was a true gentleman. He just walked in from the paddock, got the job done, got off, and out he went to the paddock. So he's made a great first impression to everybody at the stud, and obviously to look at, he's a phenomenal looking horse, great type. So he seems to be the full package for sure.
He is, and he's got a couple of other things. I just want to do a little note. It was quite interesting at Lower Long Farms. He used to be able to stir one stallion up, and that was American Ideal. Like, he's just got this unique way about him, and it was quite funny that both horses were Woodlands Stud horses, but the other stallions didn't care less about him. He didn't worry one bit. But poor old AI, he knew how to push his buttons and stir him up, and he is that way. One of the I suppose questions with Seaside when he first came out was his breeding, and that different line of breeding. Lather Up is the same. He's a grandson of Bettor's Delight out of a horse called I'm Gorgeous that a lot of people don't know about. Look at the maternal family on his site. It's just impeccable with the winners. He retired equal fastest horse in the world. He won all the big races that he had to win, exceptionally fast, beautifully gaited, beautifully light on his feet. He ticks so many boxes. And at an amazingly affordable price for a horse that's already leaving 2-year-old winners.
For sure, and we maintain that he is one of the best value pacing sires available to breeders in Australasia this season. You've just rattled off most of his stats, so you can see he broke 2 world records on the track, and I think it was 7 track records. Just a very talented, very fast racehorse. He beat a lot of the good horses during his career on the track, and he raced past the 3-year-old season, so he was doing it as an older horse too. So he ticks a lot of boxes, and his progeny probably got off to a slightly slower start, but they're definitely starting to make themselves known now. He's had a few winners over in Australia that have won usually by a decent amount of distance as well. And I believe he's got us started at Winton on Thursday. Tactiva won nicely at the trials for Stonewall Stud. So hopefully he won't be far away from picking up his first New Zealand winner as well.
You're lucky then. Well, he's had a couple, I think, I know it ran 4th. There was a horse that had early on that did run a 4th. When you say about Tactiva, I was going to say when you say, I think there's one, I'm like, you better know a little bit more about it. But it's had 1 trial for 1 win. Tomorrow night here at Bendigo, set up for David Thorne's had 2 starts and 2 wins, both by massive margins. Around Penrith too, which is not an easy track for some horses to negotiate. He handled it, no worries. And then Calexio, I'll go with Calexico for Damien Wilson, had its first start at Shepparton, was super impressive, beating an odds-on favourite and winning by another big margin, and both very, very impressive going horses as well. So, start sitting up and notice, and Sudsy will lather up as he's more effective. And as I said there, just an amazing service fee, $4,950. Basically in both countries, because with New Zealand it's 4,500 plus your GST, and it's that including your GST here in Australia as well. So he is terrific value, and if you want to get into the ground floor before he really starts leaving these horses, his oldest are only 2-year-olds, and they're up and going. Tune into Bendigo tomorrow night. Tune into Winton. It's tomorrow too, is it? No, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday for Winton. So there'll be plenty more updates coming for Lather Up. Trotters. I'll be in all sorts of trouble if we don't mention what the hill. He's backstage. He's doing an amazing job. He's just been cruelled a little bit, if you like, just by a couple of things not quite going his way as well for winning some really stand-up races. And unfortunately, you're the recipient of one of those, because he was the favourite for the Great Square in Queensland this year. I speak of Bet and Win. But Love Me Too, also, Northern Derby winner, Heat of the Derby here in Victoria as well, and is now over here with Chris Finozio as well. These are serious horses. These are both Group 1 horses, as well as also the filly that won the Derby, Northern Derby this year. He's doing an amazing job. For some reason, much maligned.
Yeah, he always hit the New Zealand market pretty strong from the first year that he came, and he was supported by some of our top trotting mares. And a lot of breeders got him behind him. They could see the potential in him, and they're reaping the rewards now. And he's getting the job done. He's leading 4-year-old sire here in New Zealand, and either second or third on the 2-year-old list, tittering not far off the leaderboard there. And he's obviously had a quiet couple of months because a lot of his progeny are actually in that next level. So they've had a quiet winter, but they're at the trials and getting ready to come back for those feature races in the spring. And yeah, obviously bet and win. Hopefully he can get a Group 1 win soon. He's sort of been close, but hasn't quite got there. So yeah, I think between him and obviously In a Single Moment, she won the Derby, beat the boys. You're right, Dal. It's another 2-year-old filly here that's done a good job to date. She's had a bit of a spell, but she's coming back up now. Tony Barron's got a nice 2-year-old filly, Queen Kaizen, very professional wee filly, so she's sure to win some more races. And then even over in Australia just lately, there's a horse called Kian Gucci that I think just won its 4th race in a row just over the weekend, and it's going great guns. It was last, down the back straight and had to loop round them and trotted past them. So yeah, he's getting the job done and leaving some really nice horses. We always said that he probably would, because he had the full package. He had the breeding, he had the race record, he's got the looks. He's a very good looking trotting sire, great temperament. And yeah, so I think he's another one that's probably, we're only just starting to see what he can do. And I think, in the next couple of seasons we're going to see a lot of his progeny winning hopefully those top line square gating races.
Kian Gucci's another horse. It's had to be scratched out a couple of those big finals, unfortunately, due to just little things that, just make the horses, you just can't race them. You can't risk them because they are serious horses. I think you're right. He's 4 from 4 or 5 from 5, doesn't matter. But he was in a couple of those big races and unfortunately had to be scratched the same way. It's just one of those things. And the other thing with What the Hill, he's a winner of, 1.3 million in stakes. But of course, he was first past the post in the $1 million Hambletonian and was disqualified for interference. And I tell anyone, go watch it, and it will blow your mind. He didn't even get relegated. He was disqualified from the whole race altogether. So he would have had 13 wins and probably over $2 million in stakes, and people would be flocking to him. And it's and I'm not saying that I can sit here and say I've paid by you guys to promote them, but I've watched that race. And it is the greatest head scratcher ever as to how he got disqualified. I can tell you that. So yeah,
I think it was bad timing on the driver's part to glance sort of over the shoulder as the horse beside him started galloping. Whether he'd heard it, I don't know. That I mean, you watch the replay, and I don't think anything was going to beat him. And yeah, but obviously we're not the stewards and don't get to make those calls. So. I mean, yeah, it's worth watching, but we don't obviously publicise it. But everything else he did, like as a 3-year-old, he beat the open class horses. A lot of them were millionaires, Pinkman and Crazy Wow, and quite a few of those horses. So he definitely he had the ability on the track, and being a son of Muscle Hill, out of a full sister to Majestic Sun, like they're our 2 top trotting sires in New Zealand and Australia. So yeah, he ticks all the boxes, and like I say, he has been supported very heavily in New Zealand, and those crops are coming through now, and they are getting the job done. So be nice to see a few more Australians breeding to him, obviously in the coming seasons, but hopefully they'll see what he's doing in New Zealand and give him a go.
Yeah, and keep an eye out. I know one that's gone well at the trials for Tony Hurley, and Tony Cameron's driving it on Friday night, having its first start. It's another well-bred horse. And the one thing, the Queen Eliza, being Queen Elida's, making a half-sister to Queen Elida. That's the sort of breeding that it got Brecken Farms have well and truly supported him very heavily and still are. So the right people are getting behind the horse. Of course, we can't forget, I can forget him, Merv Williamson as well. And, not Merv, Phil. Phil Williamson. And those they've supported him as well. So they're the people that know trotting and understand breeding as well. So I think that's really, really key. The other horse that we should never ever forget, and he is a farm favourite, but is Speeding Spur. He is also available. He's only $1,000, but we don't want people to forget him. He is a resident stallion. He's going to be keeping Bettor's company when the rest of the boys take off, but he is there and he offers great value. And I know there's a couple of them starting to go okay. We just need them to hit the track and start getting to the races now.
Yeah, and I think, if they have half the heart that he did on the track, then they'll definitely be winning races. Obviously, he's never had the huge foal crop sizes. So hopefully, we're always hopeful that at the price he's at, people will take a punt on him. And he's actually one that during the collects yesterday, his collect was probably the best of all of them. And Andrew reckoned that with that one collect, he would have been able to serve about 40 mares. So he is very fertile. So a great option for anyone. Trotting mares can be a little bit fickle to breed. So he'd be a great option for anybody that was having issues getting their mare in foal. And you're guaranteed a horse with a big heart that tries. Obviously, he couldn't have done any more than what he did on the track. He won feature races in New Zealand, Australia, North America. He went 152 and a bit for his fastest time. He won 9 Group 1s. He's a millionaire. He couldn't have done any more to try and get those mares that he so richly deserves to get. So hopefully some of his progeny, even though there's not many of them, they'll start stepping up and he'll get a real go.
No, exactly. And he's a beautiful horse himself. Bruce Negus, Bruce probably, I don't know whether you will appreciate this or not, but get in touch with Bruce because I know he bought a lot of those weanlings at the weanling sale the first year they were offered up. And he wouldn't tell me that I was there a year and a half ago. He wouldn't tell me who they were out of or whatever, but he did say, he said most of these are Speeding Spurs and he really, really liked them. And they'll be due to start hitting the ground now as well, later towards the end of this season. So, he might not appreciate people ringing him and asking him, but no, he's a great chat anyway, Bruce. And he offered that up unsolicited. It wasn't anything to do with Woodlands. I was there as harness racing New Zealand, and he was just telling me. So then I wanted to dig further, and he jammed up. Then he didn't want to give me too much information, but that's okay. Stace, if anyone wants to get in touch, of course, here in Australia, we've got Mark Hughes, and we'll just reiterate that American Ideal is finished here in Australia. And Sweet Lou's book is full, but the rest of the boys, Bettor's Delight, Down by the Seaside, Lather Up, What the Hill, and Speeding Spur are all available. So you can get in touch with Mark Hughes, and I'll have his banner up over the top of us now. But in New Zealand,
if you give Cameron Grant a call, or me, either of us are more than happy. Obviously, it's going to be a fairly tough season for everybody this year, so give us a call. We're more than happy to talk about options and how we can make it work for breeders. And we just, obviously the more mares we get, the better for the industry. So happy to chat to everybody and see what we can work out.
Stace, thank you very much. Thank you very much to Woodlands, great supporters of Campbell's Comments. I get paid to do this, so I've got no worries there at all, but I love working with you guys and the hospitality and the way I get treated. And I think that's part of the Woodlands package. I think anyone from breeders to staff, they enjoy the whole ride, and that's what it's about. It's the start of breeding season. Everyone's fresh and ready to go. We don't do these interviews in about 3 months' time because they're not quite as happy, but it's always an exciting time to the season.
Absolutely. And like I said, as soon as those stallions arrive and they get off that truck, we know that breeding season's here. So we're very much looking forward to the season ahead and very proud of the roster that we're standing, as always, full of world-class stallions, and hopefully we can breed a few more Woodlands side champions this season.
Stacey, thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.